This podcast is brought to you by the Network by Area Academy, our online education platform which gives you 24/7 access to on-demand HD tutorials from award-winning stylists. Discover and explore more by visiting thenetwork.education. Episode 22 of the Network podcast, take number 2. So we have a little bit of explaining to do to actually start this podcast off, and we actually recorded episode 22 with the Fame team. So it was our first time having more than 3 people on at once. We had 5 of us.
5.
Yeah, and we had some technical difficulties. A couple of the mics ended up going out of time and creating all these weird noises and sounds. So currently, our sound engineer, Ryan, thank you, Ryan, in advance.
Shout out to Ryan. What a legend.
He is patching that together, but we couldn't get it in time for the release date of the podcast. So we decided, honoring our word, one of our values in what we do is honoring our word. We don't like to miss our dates. We're very punctual, we're very organized, we're very planned, we're very structured. So we have decided that we're going to do a podcast tonight. We are in the Gold Coast. If anyone's watching this, you can see, or I don't know if you can see, but there's a lovely view of the city here behind us. In Beautiful. The Gold Coast, Surfers Paradise. And we have an episode to bring to you tonight. We'll touch on a few topics in which we spoke about on the plane. We'll get into that in a minute, but how are you, Lee? No short answers. Hey, Lee taught me that one earlier.
Yeah.
By the way. It's a good one.
No, I'm well. I'm well physically, mentally, spiritually. Feeling good at the moment. Had some great few weeks. Some real confirming moments. Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of a shift in my psychology, and feeling good at the minute. Feeling good.
Great.
Feeling, what's the word? Like light. Lighter than I have been for a while. And I'm not fat. But I'm feeling, there's a lightness.
Energetically light.
And there's a lightness about the way that I'm thinking about things, and dealing with things. I feel like there's been feeling good over the last few weeks. What that's down to, I can't really pinpoint it. I think it's just an amalgamation of all sorts of stuff. Different modalities and therapies and exposures to certain people and practicing certain things, and it's been good.
Some of those people might be on the podcast soon as well.
That would
keep that one in the chamber. But
what about you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, just figuring life out, one day at a time, trying to come up with some solutions to what the fuck is happening out here. It's a maze. It's a fucking maze, I tell you that much. It goes up and down, and you have your days where you're great, and you have your days where you're not so great. And I'm even getting to the point where I'm having hours that aren't so great, and I'm like, whoa, I'm really feeling that. But I think I've really opened myself up in a way where, like, I've been that vulnerable now about certain things that it's like exposed a wound. And I would have considered myself as an empath before, but I don't really know I didn't really know what that meant. Now I feel like I know what it means a little bit more, because I'm just so sensitive to people's feelings around me. So like when we do get the Fame Team podcast out next, on that day in particular, I think I was very sensitive. For anybody who doesn't know, I have been going through some stuff with an EFT practitioner, which is like tapping, which kind of rewires the subconscious mind, and it leaves you in a very like sensitive state. So I think when I came into that Fame Team podcast, there was a little bit of maybe nervousness in the air.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm like a nervous type of person. I think the guys, was like their first time doing a podcast. They're probably nervous as to what questions we were going to ask them, because we skim straight past the surface. But I feel like I could, at certain moments throughout the podcast, I could almost feel other people's energy and nerves. even though they're not mine, but I'm aware of it. It's really strange.
I feel like from my experience that your energy field is probably quite open right now, would you say?
100%.
Yeah. I think when your energy field is wide open, you're actually you can feel a lot. And I did some practice about trying to control that, but I think it worked a bit too well. And some people have said to me, wow, like your energy field's so like locked off. They're like, your energy's hard to like pick up on in a room where there might be, bigger energies, like yours is like and I learned to do that. This is going to get a bit woo-woo, isn't it? But there was a book I read on intuition. The whole book was on intuition, and there was just a chapter in there about like controlling your energy. The author is a clairvoyant, and he wrote it for other clairvoyants who had issues with controlling their energy and would become exhausted and drained and burnt out from taking on everyone's energy all the time. And he would teach them how to bring their energy field back. It was because they feel and feel and feel and more and more and more, and actually don't practice cleansing and closing it off. And I felt like that was me for a while. Not that I was clairvoyant, but I'd never been exposed to the idea that my energy field could be way wide open, and I could feel someone just miles away, in the other side of the room or wherever, in the salon that I was in at the time. I felt like I could feel energies everywhere that would affect me. So yeah, it's funny how things come to you when you need them. I opened this book. This chapter was on energy control, and yeah, it was mental practices, like in your head, shrinking down your energy field and to like a centimeter around you, and just imagine it's around you and nothing gets in. It's weird how it works. But I feel like it worked too well. So just through listening to you there, I feel like that might be the wound is almost like, it reminds you, it's like wide open, and your energy feels like whoo. But I think the healing is in the feeling, isn't it? Like you've got to feel a lot to heal. I think.
Yeah, and I think a big part of having the energy field open like that as well is being able to kind of, you're more available to kind of interact with the environment. Like, so you almost have more responsibility then. And I heard this really great thing about responsibility the other day. It's like, when you break it into two, it's like being able to respond. Like, so your response and your ability to respond. And like when you can actually read the whole situation and feel all of the feelings, and when you can not only see and hear things, like that's the normal 3D kind of way of going about things, but then you're almost opening it up to this 4D, 5D type of way of being, where you're like able to like feel people's energy as well. Even though it's like, it's knowing when to put the shield up and when not to put the shield up.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. That's interesting. That reminded me something about the feeling. Something that I only learned quite recently is paying attention to where you feel a certain feeling in the body. You've probably done that a lot with your therapies, but that's quite powerful. Yeah, because it starts the the awareness of the feeling. So when we had Hannah on the pod, we were talking about her practices and how it really does start in the body. The body knows a lot of the time before the brain knows. And just paying attention to if you are triggered or something happens, or taking a split second to be like, whoa, where did I feel that? Is it in the belly? Is it in the chest? Is it in the throat? Is it in the head? Is it a combination? And it like starts the awareness. And so I've been really paying attention to that. If something triggers me, I'm like, oh, that's a belly one. What's going on there? And it's, that's a throat one. Maybe I'm not saying something I need to say. Or, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I have a great book for you.
Yeah.
To read about all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. I think I spoke to you a bit about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But the reason I'm saying to Lee, you have a great book for you is because I've also got a great book for anyone who's listening and is interested in this type of topic. But it basically explains all of the different pains in the body and why people suffer from them, and they're all attached to an emotion.
Love that.
They're all attached to some sort of an emotion, and it's really interesting. We've loads of topics we could talk about actually now that we've
Yeah.
started. But just thinking back, right, like since we did the last podcast, we went back to Nail It and Scale It, Corwin Ray event, and I was in the crew space, Lee was attending. So it was a different experience for us both, which was awesome again. It was like probably my favourite event so far.
Yeah.
But I had an emotional release there. Like there was just with the amount of love that was shown and the amount of openness and the space that was held and the humility and the people sharing, it just brought me, the whole experience just fucking brought me to tears. And there was like for the first time tears rolling down my face, and I was so relieved. I was like, thank fucking God. Like that was my one word when they asked us after, it was one word to describe how you feel after they did that whole love tunnel thing I told you about. Relieved, I said, because
Beautiful.
it was just, I just felt relief. It was just like, oh. But how interesting is this? A couple of times since I went to the beach to do the breathwork sessions with Hannah, I can now sit on the ground with my legs crossed and not get any pain in my hips or my lower back, and I can just sit there with a straight posture, no discomfort sitting on the ground. Prior to that, I was so stiff, so rigid in and around the hips. That's where you store a lot of emotions.
Yeah, the hip flexors are big.
Yeah,
Especially for men.
yeah,
Like I think in yoga they talk about hamstrings, hip flexors, glutes, huge for blokes, like holding emotion, more negative emotions. And yeah, they find a lot, first time guys will go and do yoga, women as well, but like a lot, it's prominent in guys. They'll be in tears at the end of it. They don't even know why. And the yoga teacher's like, well, you just released a lot of emotions. You just tapped into the storage areas, so.
It's interesting. I used a really great analogy earlier when we were on the plane, and it's coming back to me now, but it was about the like sparkling water or like say champagne. It's like, as men in particular, more so than women, I feel that we're all like shaking up fucking champagne bottles and somebody's just holding the cork on.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just holding so much tension.
Yep.
Like, so for anyone who thinks this might be woo woo, like that's a really great analogy to think about it. It's almost like now, and what I've learned through the Corwin Ray experience and going through all of the crew stuff and like just from what the stuff that we've done and whatever, is that when somebody does have an emotional release, don't comfort them in the moment, just let them get it all out and then comfort them. There's a different way of comforting people, you can hold them and allow them to process it all and let it go. Or you get the typical response of when I see it everywhere, I've seen it all my life and it's probably happened to me all my life, but it's like, oh, what's wrong, don't worry, don't cry, no, it's okay, don't worry, it'll be fine. And what you're trying to do is like fill a gap where you're feeling uncomfortable by doing that. But what you're doing is you're robbing somebody of their opportunity to actually release the tension that's in that champagne bottle. Because when you do, whatever has to go goes, and then whatever is left in the bottle settles and becomes still again. But we're just walking around fucking shaking up bottles.
It's crazy, isn't it? I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's the way Corwin Ray talks about it, about how if you don't fully feel an emotion to its end, the body actually doesn't even metabolize it. That's
such a
mental.
really great way of
when he
putting
started
it.
talking about that, I was like, wow. So again, I'm probably going to butcher it, but from memory, from what I can remember, it makes more sense in my head. When a feeling comes in, the whatever molecules come out to play when feelings come in, there can be like bad shit attached to it, like toxins can be attached to it. And I can't remember how that happens, but it's like undigested feeling. And then it needs to use other bits for fuel. And then eventually the weird thing that happens is if that feeling keeps coming in and you keep suppressing it, it keeps binding those toxins to those particular messages. And eventually you run out of good molecules to go onto that thing. And then your body will always react to that feeling with those toxins, and that will be your set point for that feeling, and that will make you sick. And it will just be like toxin rich reactions. So one of the counteractions is exactly what you just spoke about, is to feel it in its entirety. The body does that for a reason. The body does it because that's what it's supposed to do. It's like shaking, and like a baby shakes. Like humans don't shake. Adults don't shake because we've told ourselves to stop it, because we put judgment on it.
Yeah.
But look what happens when someone's hysterical, when they're out of control. What's happening? They're shaking.
Yeah.
The body's like, all right, we've had enough
energy.
now. Like, you're gonna shake.
Just releasing
like, yeah. And there's a therapy for that as well, isn't there? There's that shaking therapy. You can do that as well. That's really interesting. And just before you know it, your whole body is just shaking all the way up your nervous system. It's wild. It just goes on its own.
It's mad, isn't it?
I love that. And that was particularly hard for me to learn that one. Because, yeah, I would always be the person, it's okay, don't cry. It's all right. And what I've learned from that scenario is that you're actually throwing judgment on that moment as well. For you to say, it's okay, it'll be all right, is implying that it's not okay. When it is okay.
Yeah.
I think we were chatting about it earlier. What's a reframe? We were talking about, is it okay to go up and hug? I think if it's like a healing hug, to hold and to allow them to feel, that's different, isn't it? I think when you're just holding, ensuring, and even affirming, just saying, feel it all, just feel it, go with it, whatever you want to say, is very affirming language. And I think in those moments, it's okay to go in and be that support. But I think if you're going in and being tact with, no, it's okay it kind of ruins the moment.
You're screwing the top back onto the bottom.
You rob them of their moment.
Yeah, you just screw that top back on. And
that's a great reframe. I love that it rings true in so many things. Yeah. But another thing I like where you started that, talking about our values. We're trying to stay true to our values. One of our values is staying true to our word. That's why the pod is here tonight. We are true to our word.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think, the importance of setting values in business, in a workplace, whatever you're doing, is really important. I think we're learning that more and more and more as time goes on. A lot of frustrations we might have, or situations we might run into, is just values out of alignment. We're like, what's going on here? No values were set around that. So of course we weren't going to know that. So yeah, that's been a big conversation of today, isn't it? Talking about setting our values. And I feel like values can change, or you can build them, I think.
It's a big part of like what we're taught at the K2 Elite level of Corwin Ray, and it's like purpose, mission, values. Like values are something that we've kind of overlooked since the planning day. And I've really noticed in the last couple of weeks, down to a few major lessons that we've had internally, that like if there had been a value systems in place and we had all agreed to it, we wouldn't have had the issues. And it's the same thing. I've had a couple of conversations with different barbershop owners in the last couple of weeks as well, and they've, whatever issues they might have had, can be very, very easily solved by just pointing at a set of values and saying, this is what we agree to. So for anyone who might need some more context to the values piece, it's things such as, like we honor our word, we care about people. That's another one of our values. What were the other ones? We haven't refined them yet, but we practice open and honest communication. Another way of putting it, like, don't fucking lie.
We are punctual, we are reliable,
we're deliberate in what we do. We're not and deliberation kind of is a form of certainty as well. You know,
And
when you're deliberate,
integrity.
you're certain, and
Yeah.
like we're not uncertain about what we're doing, especially in a business context. Yeah, look, some of the stuff that we talk about when it comes to the life stuff, all of our current learnings when it comes to life and what we're doing in our personal development, I think they're the most integral things that we can share right now, because that's us and our truth. But the business stuff, like we have a level of certainty around what we've done with that, because we've mastered it. Not business in general in terms of how to run the business, but practical skills. We were talking about this on the plane earlier. I don't cut hair in the shop anymore. Just putting that one out there, because that's a good one for people to know. I think it's important that we share that.
Yeah.
I spoke about it maybe in the last podcast, but this is going to come out first. Again, due to the technical difficulties, but and it's given me a broader view now, because I'm not there and I'm not in it. I'm almost able to look at it from like an aerial view and just be like, interesting. And I'm mentoring a guy up in Mackay called Damien. Shout out Damien. I'm mentoring Damien, and he, when he reaches out to me for like different bits of advice when it comes to what should I do in this situation or this situation, I just have the answers. I know what the answers are. I know how to solve them problems. And I've reached my limit when it comes to that in the shop, in that context. So to move on to the next thing is super, super important, but there's a level of certainty around what we have done and how we've grown to this point. And you'll never find a situation at Area Studio or Area Academy in a client's context when it comes to cutting clients in the chair where we're kind of stuck.
No.
We don't get there anymore. We're never stuck for the skills or what to do and say when it comes to the consultation.
Yeah. I think what helps that is our ability to ask why when we put a question mark over everything. I think once you can solidify your why over everything, you can be way more deliberate, because you lose all the guesswork. When you know why, you're not guessing anymore. Everything becomes deliberate, and it's like, you know, like creating your future in advance, like that. It's deliberately done, which sounds crazy. Like, you can't predict the future. It's like you can try and create it though.
Yeah. You can, your thoughts lead to your actions, and then they play out in front of you. Like, and you're if you believe it on a deep core level, it just energetically flows and happens. That's just how it works. We interact with our environment constantly.
I think, and we've demonstrated that a lot, you know, between us. I think there's certain things we'll speak, and energetically we'll just be magnetized towards that, and we'll move towards that, and it will happen. And we'll go, there it is, and it's not always obvious, but it's there.
It's funny though, because like when you really sit back and think about everything so far, from starting the academy up to where we're at now, when there's a lot of effort put into it, but at the same time it doesn't feel like there's a lot of effort put into it. It's almost like, how did that happen, you know?
So I was having a chat with a client about this, and I always say, like, I don't know, each month I just feel like I'm just getting going.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
still
I'm
feels
just
like
getting going.
It still feels like the beginning.
Yeah,
like.
and people will look up to us, or you, me, and would love to be there, I'd love to be doing, it's like, mate, I'm still feel like I'm just getting going.
Yeah. It's like,
after all this time.
Where are you looking at? Like,
yeah. And that excites the shit out of me. And I always say this, and maybe this is part of our shadow side coming in, but I always say we could be doing more.
Of course.
Not that we need to do more, but that's my internal feeling, and I think that's what makes me feel like there's a lot of work been put in. It doesn't feel like a lot of work's put in because my mind is wired to think I could always be doing more. Which I'm not saying is a gospel advice, but honestly, that's how I actually walk around, like, thinking like that, you know. And I think that's maybe one of my downsides, is not being able to, like, validate us much, do you know? Like,
but maybe, you know what that is though, I kind of see it more as you haven't fully found your soul's purpose yet.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's a lack of contentness in the moment. It's like I kind of feel that way as well. Like I'm totally with you on that. I always feel like I could be doing more, but by doing less, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I could be doing more, making a greater impact by doing less, and having the ability to like take myself out of the shop situation now and like look at it from that aerial view and think, okay, where actually needs some help here? Like what are the areas in which people need the help the most, and where can I provide that?
Yeah.
And what brings me the most internal joy to do that as well. And to be honest with you, it was like for a while now, it's not been cutting hair. It's been helping the people of the industry cut better hair, because that's step number one. That's the skills. That's step number one. That gives you such a level of confidence and certainty on a day-to-day basis when it comes to, again, overcoming objections. Whenever you might get a little objection from a client, somebody might start treating you like that. It's very easy for us barbers and hairdressers to just retreat back into our little hole and start to feel like have that low self-worth, low self-love thing come up. But it's like what Curran says, I've completely taken my buttons off the table when it comes to that, because I'm not there to have my buttons pressed. Yep. So I can see it from a different perspective now, because I'm not emotionally attached to it, because I'm not there. So it's like when people come to me with the objections now, I look at it from such a human side. I'm like, no, like that's fucking ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah.
And we're very good at perspective anyway. Like you're very good at looking at it from that perspective, regardless of being in the shop or not. But it's just a really interesting way to look at it, and when you really step back and just be like, what's really going on here? You know, like
how many times have we said that today?
I know. It's true though, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so true. But
I think we said it about 30 times today. What's really going on here?
But
look at that. What's really going on there?
But it's mad, right? Like we've been brought up in a society where it's more. Like we always just are striving for more. What's next? What more can we have? It's like it's actually a little bit of an insecurity kind of thing, you know. And I feel like I've realized that as well recently. It's like, hang on a second, like what do I want more for? What do I need more for? It's like filling your cup up, you know. Like you can have this bottle of water, you can only put so much water in it. Once it's full. Like, why do we keep feeling the need to like keep filling it up? You know, it's that whole equation about like, we all know how much it costs to fill our car up. You know, if it costs us $100 to fill the car up every week, all of a sudden we start making more money, which is the whole more thing. We can still only put $100 in the car. Yeah. So like, what the fuck's the point? Yeah. You know, like, why are we killing ourselves for more when we can't even use it? So it's like, or enjoy it. What's the point? And who's it for?
I know. I really think it's. I think there's a lot of. That's a complex situation. A lot of it is out of insecurity, but much like Mo Gaudat was just talking about it this week, about the masculine and feminine energy, and how we need to embrace the feminine energy more. And it sounds weird to a lot of men to do that, but I think the big distinction is it not to make men effeminate, but to embrace your feminine energy. And that takes you on a whole other rabbit hole, and it's like the being and doing. So how he breaks it up is like the doing all the time is the masculine energy. And if you look at the world right now, okay, it probably has been too driven by masculine energy, and that's doing.
It's got it to exactly where it is.
And
right
look where we are. This is the end, not the end product, but a product of the doing, which is more. Yet when relating right back to what you said, when's enough? Well, we need to embrace the feminine energy to sit back and realize, wow, look what we've created. But a lot of people actually don't. A lot of our world and society doesn't. We sit in the masculine and just go more, do, more. it's like the thing we were talking about earlier about the quest of life. Like the masculine sits in the quest of life. Like the quest is just like, what's next? Where am I going now? What's next? Boom, 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 boom. Where the feminine can sit in the being and go,
They just flow down the river of life.
But like what you said, and did Hannah tell you?
It's not even a they thing. We all have it. It's like it's the energies, right? Like
we all
I'm
have
just
it.
correcting myself there in what I said.
But it's like we're called a human being for a reason, not a human doing. And I love that. I just love that. I'm like, we're a human being, and we rarely be. Rarely.
I know. I did a connection exercise this morning at the Cool to Be Conscious breathwork thing, and it was like, what's one thing that you suffer to love about yourself, or like one thing that you struggle to love about yourself? And it was my inability to be in the feminine at times. And it's hard. Like I find actually when I went to the Carbon Ray event, it took me a day to come out of the masculine. It took me a full day. This morning I wasn't there. I wasn't in. I just was able to track it because I've been going to them kind of things so often, and I've been making my health and well-being a priority over every bit of work that I've done in the last little while.
Yeah.
But like I was really able to track it, and I was sitting there and I was thinking, I just don't feel like I'm in touch with my intuition right now. The answers aren't coming to me like the way they were last week. But if I didn't go last week and I wasn't consistent with it, I wouldn't know any different. I'd just be caught up in the fucking hamster wheel of masculinity, which is very easy to get caught up in.
On that wheel.
It's very easy to get caught up in.
It's a magnetic wheel.
Like the whole thing about like the being and the doing as well. You could look at it as reactive time and reflective time, and we speak a lot about this when it comes to like setting up our calendars and stuff for the week. And I schedule 2 periods of reactive time in my calendar every day for 45 minutes, and usually it's in the morning and kind of mid-afternoon, because reactive time, it's very easy to feel like you're busy just getting back to people's messages and writing back to things, because that's all you're doing is reacting to things that are happening. But the reflective time is what's really going to actually push the business forward. Like, what are the things that you need to do to actually move things forward, instead of just reacting to everything and feeling like you're busy.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned through this year, really, of us really getting down to what are our priorities. And one of the ways that you helped me to understand it was like, what are the things that are going to make this move forward? Because we get just stuck messing around in the tasks, you know, again out of insecurity, just to feel busy. I'm doing something. Safety, because it's a classic Western thing, like just look busy. You know, goes right back to religion. Look busy, Jesus is coming. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like, don't just look busy. Move with intention, with purpose. You know, be direct and what's going to move this forward. That's been massive for me. Like in being setting my intentions for every day, and you should see my like daily tasks now. It's amazing. Like, it's ridiculous. I know we set 4 to 5 hot action things for the week, but then daily I go and break that down. There's loads. There's like,
it's insane. There's 10 that come off of each one of those. Like, there's 50 things to do a week. But if you look at it from a reactive state of mind, that's the masculine energy. And the reflective is which really pushes the business forward, is the reflective, and that's more in line with the feminine energy. So like, you'd think about like the biggest CEOs in the world, and you hear all these podcasts and read these books, and you got the Jeff Bezos and like Mark Zuckerberg and people like that, and they always say that they spend their days just making a couple of really important decisions, and the rest of the time is like looking out the window,
thinking, being,
but allowing yourself to even think. Because we get so caught up in the doing, especially in the barbering and the hairdressing industry. All we're doing is doing.
Yep.
We're not doing anything but doing. So how can you even take a second to realize, does this even make sense? A lot of it doesn't make sense. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah.
A lot of it doesn't make any sense.
Because we've been stuck in the masculine.
Yeah, and I've realised that this week I had a meeting with a friend, and he showed me this app, and this app is called Miro, and it's like a mind mapping app, and I really just mind mapped out everything that we do, and I just looked at it all, and I looked at it from what we do, who we offer it to, how many hours it takes, how much money it makes us, and you start weighing it all up, and you can start to really see, okay, what is actually worth doing versus the cost of being.
Yeah,
like this is you know what I mean, it's like a cost, it's like weighing it up. It's like, is this worth doing over being right now? Because being is equally as important as doing, because I look at it from a recovery standpoint. When you're training, or when you're cycling, or when you're in the gym, if you're just constantly at the gym pumping fucking iron, like, you're never gonna grow your muscles.
You won't grow.
You're not letting any recovery time come through. You're not allowing your intuition to actually guide you. You're just forcing life. You're not letting life just happen as it's supposed to.
You're not letting your muscles reflect.
No, you're not. Absolutely. No, you're just not letting them even think, oh, this is what's happening here.
Yeah.
You're just actually torturing them.
I had an experience this week, I think I was telling you earlier, getting back to things that don't make sense in the shop. Like, I look at the days that we do, the long days that we do, 9 till 8 p.m. I mean, look, there's probably people that work longer than that, but that's long enough for me. Doing for that long with a new client every 45 minutes, that's long enough for me. But we do that 3 days straight. That's 33 hours of doing in 3 days. And I see that has been built for a certain person in a certain place in life. It's fine for a youngster with no responsibilities and no family and nothing else going on. Fine, knock yourself out, work 9 to 8. It's
training ground for life at that point. And I'm very grateful for my time doing that.
Don't get me wrong, like that builds grit, that builds resilience, all sorts of things are built in that. But what didn't happen? We didn't sit in the feminine long enough to think, is this a long-term strategy? And I had a conversation with somebody about this the other day, and I said, imagine this scenario. I said, we've both got families, and you got your little kids at home, and the kid goes, oh, is dad home for dinner tonight? Oh, no, he's at work tonight till 8 p.m. Thursday comes along.
They'll be in bed by that time.
Exactly. You get home, you missed him. Thursday comes along. Oh, is dad home for dinner tonight? Can he come see me play sports? No. He's at the studio. Oh, what's he doing? He's cutting people's hair till 8 p.m. What about tomorrow night? No. He's at work again till 8 p.m. And so this may sound petty and silly, but you put that over your whole life. Is that a good strategy? To me, that sounds like hell. But back to this interaction that I had. So the person who I had the interaction with said, oh, but that's been going on for years though, hasn't it? And I was like, yes, it has. But you're stuck in the masculine of the doing, and you're just going to keep doing and doing and doing. You won't let yourself sit in the feminine and just think about it, or life just won't let him sit in the feminine and go, I'm going to think about this and question this. Is this what I want, and is this going to happen? Anyway, the end of the conversation went, I was kind of checked out of the conversation there, so I let it just run on the other side. I was like, well, that's probably where it ends for me. But the end of the conversation went, well, how many days do you get off? 3. At our studio, we work 4 days, and there's 3 days off. And it was like, oh, well, 3 days the kids are all right. You're probably not going to see them much anyway. I was like, you see, this is the problem. We're so stuck in the doing. We don't ever sit back and reflect in the feminine and go, well, is this really what I want to do? Like, we've just let it go and go and go and go and go and go and go. So, that's just one scenario, and, people may agree, people may not, and I know we've got to work to make a buck, and I know, life's not that easy, but we've thought our way to this point. We can think our way to a different point. And that's my whole argument with this. It's like, look, we chose to get here to do that. We can choose to do it another way. So, yeah, I think we need to sit in that, the feminine of that a lot more and question that.
Well, when you look at life in terms of the whole 500,000 chips thing,
this scares the shit out of me every time you say that.
you know, like, and Stephen Bartlett talks about this in his book Happy Sexy Millionaire, and it's about in life looking at a game of averages. If you live until you're 80 and you go through all of the normal life things, we actually only have 500,000 hours.
Quick one. The Network by Area Academy is one of the most consistent hair education platforms in the world. We curate and post weekly content for all of our members, as well as providing you with a community of like-minded professionals. Join our Facebook community for free by following the link in the description of this podcast. Okay, back to the pod.
Which you can look at as chips, tokens that are always just eating away. Every hour that passes, another chip gone, another chip gone, another chip gone, another chip gone, another chip gone. So we always live with this one day mentality as well. Like, oh, one day, one day that's what I'll do. One day that's what I'll do. And I started thinking about this recently in my reflective state. And I started thinking, you know what, like, I don't know, would I live life all that differently if I had the money for the one day things? I don't know, would I really do much more? It would probably amplify our ability to do what we're currently doing.
Yeah. Well, we had that conversation, didn't we? That was what I said for me. Like, what would I do if I had all the money in the world? Like, really, truly, what would I do? Or the flip, just take the money completely out of it. What would I do? And it would be have a beautiful routine. Wake up, whether it's my breath work or my yoga or my meditation, move my body, work out, go for a walk along the beautiful lake. In the winter I love walking in the cold, crisp air. In Victoria, we're in Gold Coast right now, it's not the same. And then, preparing my really great food for the day, all that kind of stuff. Living as a functional, optimal human being, but we push all that stuff aside just to do.
It's actually driven completely out of fear. It's a fear energy.
It's fear. And lack.
It's a fear and lack energy. And
lack.
If we're going out there and we're being abundant in lack, we're never going to attract in that one day stuff. No. We're just never going to get there. And embodiment is like such a thing. It's such a thing. You can't think your way out of it. It's a feeling.
Yeah. And like that one day mentality, I never use that anymore because that one day is never guaranteed.
No, no. You're setting yourself up for disappointment, expectation.
That one day is never guaranteed, and what if it doesn't come? And it's dangerous. Very dangerous. Let's talk about the real topic of this podcast. That was a nice.
Fucking hell.
That was a great introduction, wasn't
it? Look, honestly, like, it just goes in any way, shape, or form. I think that was totally relevant to the day that we had, and
we've warmed ye all up.
There's a few other things in there that we haven't touched. There was something that was on my mind there a second ago that was a really big topic from today, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, if it comes in, let it in. Sit in the feminine, let it in, drop in. But we were gonna, so yeah, like we're saying, this is an impromptu sort of podcast. We are men of our word, and we said we deliver, and we're going to touch on some sort of branding, social media, working with brands kind of stuff. That was what we were floating around in. So we've been having some conversations lately. People have been coming to us.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm thinking about what we're going to call this podcast. It is going to go from serious life dealing with emotions and feminine and masculine and doing and being into fucking branding and social media and talking about working with brands. Interesting. So
but it's crazy how the two link together. There's links to all of this. I think if you can get that stuff right, the emotional stuff, get yourself right, all of this other stuff gets so much easier and so much clearer and so much more intentional and deliberate, like all the words we were just saying. And I think, something that stands out for us is how deliberate we are with our branding. I think
it's becoming more and more refined.
We're refining it. I think it's almost daily now, isn't it? It's refining more and more and more daily.
It's just looking for alignment. It's is it in line with the values? It's we almost have these invisible set of values that we all know that we live by. Especially, us two are very crystal clear on it, but we need to really sit down with everyone and just go through it and just be like, are these things that you all agree to? But the whole working with brands thing, it's a question that we get asked a lot, about being an ambassador and about working with brands and what are the benefits of that and why would you do that. And for us, for such a long time, it's had its purpose. It served the purpose for sure. The first brand I worked with was Andis. Would it have been? I think so.
That's the OG, isn't it? Really?
It was either Andis. Yeah, it was Andis. And I recently have stopped working with them, but I'm very, very grateful for all of the opportunities that I got through working with them. And in a world where we're moving towards the unknown, the only thing that's certain about what's going to happen in the future is uncertainty. But we're moving towards the unknown. So for us to kind of really tap into who we are and figure out who we are and come across authentic, genuine in our own way and in our own personal brand is huge. I think a lot of people have heard us throw around the word personal brand for ages, and you might not know what we're talking about, but it's what do people think of when they look at you or hear your name, in a certain context, in an industry, in the world. What do people think of when they think about area academy, area studio? What comes to mind?
Yeah.
In my mind, quality comes to mind always. Work ethic, passion for what we've done.
Kind of at the tip of the trend a lot of the time. Like the pointy end of trend. I had an experience lately. I think this is great to clarify our version of personal brand, because I didn't realize that it was quite a confusing topic for a lot of people. Quite recently at the academy, I had an experience with an attendee who I was just banging on about personal brand and how powerful it is, and I think that's the thing you should double down on at the moment. Basically his issue was about he wasn't really feeling like he was aligned in what he was doing and feeling like he was doing what he wanted to be doing, but I think he was relying on everything else to bring that to him. And I said, I think you need to change your kind of perspective and take control of this a little bit more, because the line that I used was like, nobody cares about you more than you do, so it's up to you to kind of bring these things into your life. And he was like, how do I do that? And I said, it's a thing I've been talking about all day, and it's building your personal brand. And he was like, can I just ask you, what do you mean by personal brand? And I thought this kid was playing along all day. I was like, great, he's going to go away and he's going to be this personal brand. And at the end of the day, he was like, what do you mean by personal brand? I was like, aha, okay, that's a great question. And I tried to break it down as simply as I possibly could. There was two ways that I said to him. I said, it's the story that you tell the world about who you are. And it's how you want the world to see you, and it's how the world sees you. So I gave him a little exercise, a little thought exercise. I said, according to, I didn't actually know this guy's social media. It was a person I'd never seen before or met, purely met him through the academy. And I said, so with the way that you portray your personal brand now, how do you think people see you? And he was like, they don't, because I don't post anything. And I was like, well, that explains everything. That's why you don't feel like you're doing what you want to do. You don't get what you want to get. You don't work with the brands you want to work with, because they don't see you. You're not telling them your story. So that's basically my breakdown of personal brand. Is that kind of accurate? Do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're getting a guy on. I think it won't be next episode, but the one after.
Yeah.
He's a branding expert, and he's going to come in, and he's got an agency here in the Gold Coast. We're going to do a podcast with him in a few days, but yeah, that'll be awesome, and he'll really be able to break it down for us and give us dissect it,
Yeah.
But I am totally with you there, and I think on a subconscious level and unconsciously, I've kind of just been creating my personal brand since the start, and Gary Vee's been a big catalyst in that.
Yeah, 100%.
From the very beginning, following him on Snapchat days where I started my business back in Ireland and just started running my own little ads almost on Snapchat, and that's where it's perception, it's public perception of you and your message. That's almost like an easy way for me to think about it.
Yeah,
it's like, what perception are you creating? So working with a brand, so that taking it from personal brands to working with a brand, I think there's always a fucking very simple 3-letter question that you got to ask yourself when it comes to everything in life, basically, and it gives you everything that you need to know. Why do you want to work with a brand? And if you can go 3 to 5 whys deep with it, then you're fairly onto something. To be honest, when I first started working with brands, I didn't know why. I was just fucking really happy to get the opportunity, and this want me to be a global educator. I'm only cutting hair for 2 years. Of course I'm going to take the opportunity.
Yep.
There's different brands who have approached us throughout the years. Now that I'm resisting it a little bit, and now that I'm creating a perception of scarcity, which is bringing my value up, I'm getting more brand offers than I ever have.
Yep.
And I naturally attracted the one that I always wanted in the first place, which is the Dyson one. And I'm thinking about life on such deep levels at the moment. Like, I'm really asking the whys. I was even questioning the Dyson one for a while, but then I went to their concept store, the demo store in Sydney, and I really saw how they break down everything, and they really create an experience, and every little thing is thought out, the why. And it's just that gratitude of life thing that you talk about, Lee, about. You can look at it from a gratitude standpoint, because you're like, fucking hell, we've come this far as humans. This is amazing. Like that. This is the stuff that we're talking about. This is how far past survival that we're at. That we're thinking about the filter in the vacuums. And I spoke to the guy at the demo store about that. I said that to him, and he was like, I know, it's mad, isn't it? I was like, yeah, it's fucking crazy.
And I think that's how I explain it to people. I'm like, all of what we do here is an expression of how great it is to be a human right now. Like, on the scale of survival, how far away are we? We are miles away from survival. It's so easy to survive. Like, people don't like hearing that because they like to wallow in their own pity. I'm sorry if there's anyone out there that likes to do that, but it's so easy to survive. Really, come on. Like,
it's like what Mo Gaudat was saying about like 9. What was he saying about one thing that was it's kind of like the upside thing that we were talking about today, or like what's the upside? But like, Mo Gaudat likes to like channel into like 9 things that are positive about the situation or something.
Yeah. And like,
it's like, we are sitting on a couch.
Yeah.
We have microphones in front of us. We're able to spread our message to however many people are going to listen to this. We have water. We have a bed.
Company.
We have full food. Like, we're full of food.
Oh, bloody good pizza.
Yeah, pizza, pasta. Saturday night.
Lovely.
What more could you want?
Late night chats with the lads.
Like, literally, what more do we need right now?
Exactly. And that's how I see this, or the expression of how bloody great it is to be a human right now.
And that's where it comes to the Dyson thing. So that's where we were. We take off with it.
Just scouting around that one for a minute, didn't we?
I just think about the why, right? And like how being an ambassador or working for brands has helped me in my career. And you got to ask yourself why. Like, what's the goal? It's the same thing as social media and what you're posting for, and we'll get into that as well in a minute. But What is your why behind it, first of all? And sometimes it's okay not to have one. You don't always have to have one. It's just, is it pulling you out of line with your own personal values? And if it is, then maybe you should reconsider it. If it's not, and you're just getting some free equipment and you're putting in minimal effort, you really like the brand, you like what it brings to you, great. But who's it for? And you got to think about it as a utility. You know, it has to, like, the utility of it is very important, because it's like, what is it actually providing for you? For me, honestly, like, I think it had a big contribution. Not only, like, I've got two types of client or customers, right? I have, historically, not anymore, but like, I've had the hair cutting clients. Excuse me. I've had the haircutting clients, like people who I was doing haircuts for, and then we had the education, so barbers were also my clients. And working with the brand in the industry helps for both. You know, it's, believe it or not, you know, it's like people who are just cutting hair on the floor, working for brands and doing stuff on your social media. Regardless of the context, it works for both, because it's building your personal brand. It's creating perception around you being a better barber. But how do you do it? Unfortunately, a lot of the time it does come down to some numbers, some following. What is the brand's ideal goal? Is to sell products as well as anything else. Get brand leverage in terms of,
and I think
promo.
One of the things that, you know, I was thinking about there is tying in what we spoke about at the start to that. Is I think one of the powerful things moving forward is authenticity. I think that's what's working for us quite well. Is the more we do the emotional work and the psychological work, the more authentic and carefree it becomes. And that, why is that important? Well, that's the most relatable stuff. There's no facade on it. And how many times, I don't want to bloody piss in our own pockets, but like, how many times have people come up to us and said, you're way more like approachable than we thought, you know, or you're exactly like you are on the pod, like you just chat and talk and this and that. They think, like, because most people, they try and work with a brand or this, that, or get to Dyson just to be on a pedestal above everybody else. And like, I think what is powerful for us is like staying on that just human level. The more authentic you become, the more you can be. It's just so relatable and so human, and I think that's what we need to see more of. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because I think brands are looking for that right now. Like they are looking for that authenticity in who you are, because it sells and it's relatable, and humans like that. We need to be more human. I think Instagram's been great. When did it start? 2012. It's been great over the last 10 years, but it hasn't been the most human experience. It's been a lot of facade, and that's not human. It's an interpretation of this tangible world. So yeah, I think one of my big pieces of advice, what works for me, so I don't have the biggest following, but it works, is that authenticity and the realness about it. I think it's very powerful. It's done me a lot of favors, for sure. But and then coming on to posting. All right, posting on social media. Again, I try to relate to like real life experiences that I've had. Again, talking about one of our values, you know, we tell the truth, which is more about not lying. So this is about a real life encounter with a colleague. It was getting all worked up about, social media this and personal brand, but I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. I'm like, all right, let's stop there. Let's simplify this. All right, what is the purpose of your social media right now? What is the purpose of your personal brand? What is it going towards? And his thing was getting more clients. And I was like, okay then, what are all the things, write down 10 things that you believe will get you more clients when you put them on your Instagram, and forget the rest. Just forget the rest, because it tunnel vision, and I said, do it every day. If you can, if you want to, go twice a day, because you just amplify it. and then tunnel vision it, and that just pushes it all away. Okay, take you or I for example. Yours personal brand's slightly different to mine. You're moving off in a direction, which is amazing. But for me, okay, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to play 2 games right now, please brands and potential students to the academy. So what are we putting up? More personal experiences, more psychology, more things you can expect to see at the academy. And then on the brand side of things, how-tos, here's starting there, here's using the product. That's not going to get me clients in the studio. They're not going to know anything about how I can do a commercial salon-friendly haircut. So the purpose is different. To concentrate on all of those things is quite difficult. So I think it's important to do that exercise with yourself to hone in on what is it you're trying to do with your personal brand. And the more things you're trying to do, the more work it's going to be. You're going to have to be posting all the time. And that takes a whole lot of planning and structure on its own. You're going to have to start planning all of your posts. You're going to have them loaded up, ready to go, because there's no way you're going to be able to post all of that stuff. Say you're trying to do 3 things. Say you're trying to work with a brand, you're trying to get new clients, and you're trying to get students to your academy. All right, you're going to have to post 1 salon-friendly commercial haircut a day. You're going to have to post something which product brands like a how-to or a connection thing.
It's me.
Yeah, and you're going to have to post some informational content for a student. All them 3 things every day. That is so much work. So I can understand how it's overwhelming to everybody, but I feel like if you can just narrow in and forget the rest, it's probably easy for us to talk like this because I just use social media as a business tool now.
Same.
It's
absolutely.
not. I've eradicated my personal life from it. Okay, my personal life comes into it because a lot of what I do in business is my life. That is my personal life, but it's geared towards it.
Yeah, it's
being
got a
used
purpose.
as a tool. And what's
got somewhere to go.
And what is all of that? My personal brand. People click onto my page and they go, "Yep, know what this guy's about." It's just obvious.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
And it's like when you're using it in the context of business, when you're using it in the context of a tool for business, then all of that makes a lot of sense. But if you're not in the business of using it as a tool for business, then just be very careful, in my opinion. This is just my advice, by the way. Don't have to take it, but just be very careful in attaching your identity to it from that kind of angle, because we're not living in there.
Yeah.
And it's not real life.
It's an interpretation of the real world. And I heard a great quote. So if you look at social media, to me, it's a very isolated way of looking at things, isn't it? It's just one way of looking at things. And this might have been from Cohen Ray, but most things in isolation, especially in nature, don't make sense. And what do you mean by that? Okay, we'll look at a single cell. Does it make sense on its own? No, it's got no context. Oh, it's a cell. What does it do? No idea. It makes no sense. But then you zoom out. Oh, there's things around it. Oh, what's that? Oh, there's other cells. Oh, what's it doing here? Let's move out. So you get context on the whole thing. So social media, I believe, is trying to interpret this tangible world, which is complex beyond belief. Like we cannot even, I think we understand it, but we probably don't understand it at all.
But we understand it enough to know that we don't understand it.
Yes, that is so true. But Instagram or whatever social media things you use, Instagram just comes to my mind. That's how well their branding's gone. Yeah. Say social media, Instagram just jumps to my mind. It in isolation, not much makes sense. And I just don't believe that social media makes sense in terms of being a well-rounded human. So like Owen said, be careful about tying your identity to it. And if you're not using it as business or a tool for business, it can become a distraction. So just be careful. Again, it's just advice. You can do what you want with it. But we've found great upside in muting, unfollowing, allocating time just to be on it, you know, not just willy-nilly just getting the phone out and being like bored, just I need a distraction, scroll through Instagram.
But notice what happens when you do that too, like why you do it. You know, like what is the discomfort?
Do you know what it is for me? Yeah, I was going to say it stops me from feeling that thing in the moment.
What's the discomfort that
I'll
you're
catch
avoiding?
myself doing it all the time and I immediately put it away.
It's fucking... But
And have you seen,
even having that like level of consciousness to know like, whoa, what is this? Why am I doing it?
and have you seen what I'm doing? I'm trying to train my brain, so I've got that monotone hack on my phone. So there's this thing you do with your phone. Google this, guys. I can't remember how to do it. Google fixes all your problems. You can click your home button 3 times on the phone and it will turn everything grey, monotone. So I keep it on monotone all the time unless I need it to like FaceTime, or you know, I need the colours to edit a photo or something like that, because I'm trying to train my brain not to get triggered by all of the colours. And so every time I pick my phone up, I can feel it in myself. There's nothing really like getting me going about it. I'm like, put it back.
It's like looking at a rock.
It's just like, it's grey.
There's no sensory, like it's sensory deprivation in a way. So you're kind of taking that trigger out of it. You know, your eyes are naturally gravitated towards a certain color, like that little purple and red.
Yeah.
Instagram app, you know, like,
and the little red notification. That's so clever.
And you know what? It's interesting. I've taken. There's been periods of time in my life where I feel like I've spent more time interacting with people on there than I have in real life, especially throughout like lockdowns and stuff like that, you know. And like, it's kind of scary to think about.
I had it the other day. The class I did on Friday morning. Someone came up to me and gave me a hug and went, "So good to meet you in real life." I was like, "Don't I know you in real life?" I was like, "Oh no, all of our actions, interactions over the last like 2 years have been online." I was like, "What? Meet me in real life?" "Oh yeah, I've never actually met you in real life." But that was so weird.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like, wow, that was a bit of a...
But you know what's one thing that we always kind of see when it comes to social media is like taking out like where I was kind of going with that whole like in real life and out here, like in social media and out here, is getting too tied up in what its purpose is.
Yeah.
And that's where we see a lot of challenges coming up for people, because they're so tied up in creating this identity that they forget that it can be a tool and a utility, and the context of life is always changing. And like for me, years ago, if you scroll back, you can still see it, and it's a really good exercise probably for a lot of you guys who might be looking at what we're doing, and if you aspire to go along the similar type of journey, it's a good exercise to go back and kind of just have a look through it. And the context changes. When I was working at Area Studio and when I first got to Australia, you'll see my feed was all haircuts, because what was I trying to do at the time? Haircuts. You don't see me posting any haircuts now. None. You look through all my feed, not many haircuts anymore.
Not many, yeah.
Because that's not what I'm trying to attract. And you attract exactly what you put out, right? It's like that whole thing that we've been hearing and speaking about all the time. But it's okay for the context to change. It doesn't mean that you have to change, and that, you know, I think a big part of it really starts with stopping caring about what other people think, you know?
Yeah. Because again, you know, if you're not using it as a business tool and authentically using it as a business tool, it can become a bit of a crisis as well, because you've got these two identities now. And
I've definitely gone through that.
You can fall in love with your identity online, because you might get lots of likes and lots of interaction and people love you there, but then you come back into your actual life and that's not who you actually are. You've just created this person, this avatar online, and in real life people don't treat you the way people treat you online, and then your brain gets all confused and mixed up, and where's all of my meaningful connections, and where are these, and I'm so lonely, and it's a mess. So I think back to authenticity, I would be as transparent as an authentic in both worlds as you can possibly be. And it just allows for a much more peaceful life, a lot less confusion, a lot less stress, a lot less suffering.
Yeah,
Because I see that all the time in people,
yeah,
especially in the hair world. Very easy to create an identity for yourself online and fall in love with that identity, because it's a very validating thing, isn't it? You know, social media itself, getting back to like, you know, like you say, the kind of context changes and being careful about it. Like, it's exactly right. I don't even think, let's take Instagram. I don't think Instagram even knew what it was even for originally. They wouldn't have even really had 100% full context on what this is and what it's going to be and where we're going to go with it. They're probably kind of intuitively moving with it as well. Do you know what I mean?
Action,
it's not
action
gospel.
is everything. Action is everything. Just,
Yeah.
And like, it's getting caught up in the day-to-day shit too. Like, what you post today is today. The amount of information that we're all consuming at the moment is
It's horrifying.
extortionate.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
So like, why are we worried about a post? Just fucking post it. You don't know who's going to see it. If it makes one sale for you in whatever context that is,
Yeah.
then it's worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
Some of our posts have made us so much money. And that's where the difference is. I think it's when people tie it to something else
yeah.
that's not the utility.
Yeah.
They forget that we're making money out of it. And I had this conversation with a girl in my hometown years ago. I don't know if I've told this story in the podcast yet. Have I told this story about the Kanye West thing?
Tell it again. Love a good story.
Okay, so I was outside a nightclub in my hometown years and years ago.
Last week.
And it was my Snapchat days, like, where I was posting about, like, you know, haircuts, and, you know, I was marketing for myself at the time because I was running my own business. And yeah, long story short, girl came up to me at the end of the night, and she's just like, "Oh, McCarthy, like, who do you think you are? Like, you know, you only cut hair, like, and you're on Snapchat talking as if you're like Kanye West or something." And I just, like, very calmly at the time, actually just said, "You do realize that, like, I'm doing this, it's a business, yeah, right? Like, it's marketing, like,
Yeah.
it's what you do in business is you market your business so that you get more customers. And you're a lawyer, you're studying to be a lawyer, right?" And she's like, yeah. So like, okay, so you protect criminals from, so who's the more morally and ethically correct person here, right? Anyway, look, I won't go there, but like, anyway, it didn't get into an argument. I'm just kind of rambling on now, talking shit. But the point being is like, it's a complete tool. Like, it's not me on there doing it for me to, like, prop myself up. And at points it definitely has been, and I've got caught up in it, like, and to be totally transparent about it, like, the whole operation of my Instagram, getting it to where it's got, getting to that K point where you get past the K, that was all tactical. Like, I didn't just sit around and wait for it to happen either. I built it to that. How did I build it to that? I used to go on to, like, Barbershop Connect and start following people who recently followed the page, and they would just all follow me back for ages. I'd be doing that, like, 400 or 500 followers a day sometimes. Then I have a couple of celebrity clients. They posted me on their stories. Boom, couple of thousand followers.
Yeah.
But they're useless.
Yeah.
They're absolutely useless to me.
Yeah.
So really, I only have a core following, which is about the same as yours. And the thing is, with that, is within that there's probably about 1,000 people that were close friends with our family who aren't even qualifying as customers. So then we have about a pool of about 3,000-4,000 customers that we can potentially target.
Yeah.
How many of them can we get in person? Not that many. So, like, it starts becoming more narrow, and it's like getting caught up in this whole identity of, like, how many likes you're getting, how many followers you have. And I've seen people's face and whole demeanor and energy change around me as soon as they see how many followers I have on Instagram, and I don't like it, because I know that it doesn't fucking mean anything. I just used it as a tool. I'm just a normal person who went on and used the tool to create what I've created.
Job done. And I think a great something that's just burning on my mind. Sorry to shift the topic a bit, but something that you probably have had to overcome at some point is not getting too caught up in the perfectionism of a post. And again, back to a real life scenario I had the other day, some practical advice on like, all right, something that we've been really helping people with is to reframe. Okay. And sometimes you need someone to do this to you because it's hard to do it to yourself. Because your feelings won't let you objectively look at things and validate the experience. But it's like, I had an experience where someone said, oh, look at this post. They'd filmed it in the wrong frame rate. They'd filmed it in 4K, and Instagram obviously can't handle 4K very well. So it was all glitchy. Like it was and he's like, oh, Lee, like you're good with video. Like, can you fix it? And I was like, well, you probably can't fix the frame rate. You filmed it in 4K now. I was like, well, you just post it anyway. Oh, what? And it was like all downside. It was, oh, it's ruined. Oh, look, oh, fuck, it's ruined. I said, stop. What's the upside here? I flipped and boom. What's the positive? What's the upside? And he's like, well, if I post it, well, I'll stick with my consistency. And I said, what else? And he's like, oh, well, it is a nice haircut. I'm like, yeah, cool. I said, are you robbing someone of a moment to learn here? He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, make the caption about why you don't want to film in 4K because this is what happened. And he went, oh, brilliant. And like about an hour later, he posted it. And the caption is like, don't film in 4K. And and I was like, there you go. So a great reframe then be turned into an educational post about don't film in 4K because Instagram will shit itself.
There's the opportunity for growth, It's like looking for the opportunity for growth.
And that's why sometimes it takes someone else to do that to you because they notice the friction, and the friction is the chemistry for change. And it's like, that's just powerful. That right there is not getting caught up in the perfectionism of what you think this is, and just do it anyway. And it's consistency. And the thing that doubles up, the most important thing I see there, again, is what I was teaching people a lot, is that concept of front of mind. Like front of mind. Posting every day. Who's posting every day? I am. Who gets to see my posts? Like all of my followers see me every day. So what do they think when they think men's haircutting in Melbourne or men's hair education? Our names come up. Why? Because we're front of mind. Why? We weren't caught up in the perfectionism. We were just consistent. And then double that up. Let's compound that down. All right. Authentic. We've got our story. We're bringing value. And it's a powerful concoction where you can get past that bit, have a little bit of humility and get over the hump of what you think this is. It has to be. And just go all in authentically. It's powerful. And see, I'm excited then to use social media. Like, that's exciting because as a business tool, that's like, fuck, we're unstoppable if that's our business.
Well, we can help more people with it, We can get to the point where we can help more people, and
100%.
It's qualifying the people that we want to work with. And it attracts the people
exactly
to us that we want to be around. And like, this is a really big thing for us at the moment. It's with our workshops and with what we're doing, is like, they're not for everybody, and that's okay. We realize that we're offering a really premium product and service. It's premium, it's high quality, it's not for everyone, and we're all right with that. And what our Instagram allows us to do is to qualify our audience to the point where we curate our work environment to suit us.
But we've been talking about that from day one.
And then with the idea of obviously helping them as much as possible. But yeah.
But we've been talking about that from day one. We have a whole section, don't we, in our academy. I'm sure it's on the network as well, our online platform, about, curating your clientele, curating your work environment, being careful who you take on. It's okay to let some people go. That's exactly, we still think about that now with the academy. We're not trying to take on everybody. I mean, I would love to. My ego says yes, take everybody, because you can impact so many people. And, I think we believe in our message so much and our work that I think we could help most people with something that come into our kind of presence. But us staying in our authentic self and our truth qualifies our audience, and we get to curate our work life. And again, like I said at the beginning of this pod, or somewhere in this pod, like, you know, that's you taking back, you're creating your future in advance. So there's the method. There's the method in all of it, and a lot of it will seem like luck and chance, and we've heard it all, haven't we? Oh, look at those, it's right for those guys. No, there's method in all of it. And we just have I think a unique kind of understanding and work ethic around it, and we're almost a bit militant on it sometimes, and we get it done. We're men of our word, and that's what we do. We're deliberate.
We get shit done. Absolutely. And you know, so all in all, I would advise, if it feels aligned, working with brands.
Yeah,
I would definitely advise it. It not only brings your value up with your clients, which it does. Your clients look at you and they think, and potential clients, prospective clients, look at you and they think, brands want him. You know, these big hair brands want him, so he must be good at what he's doing.
Yeah.
It justifies you putting your prices up. It justifies you earning a better living. It justifies a level of respect that you're going to now get from your clients. And it also brings your level of respect up in the industry, depending on the brand, of course. But then, yeah, you just got to think about your why. So what's the why behind it?
So let's chunk it down into some practical. 1 to 5. Where would you start? Your why?
Yeah.
Step 1.
Step 1 is probably
step one's always purpose, really. I mean, but why and purpose?
It's almost like the whole like why, what, who, when, for how long. Like it's really simple questions. You just ask yourself them ones. Yeah. And it's kind of like, what is the purpose? Yeah. Sometimes you don't have to know. It's fine not to know as well. Yeah.
But if you can, I think, get your purpose down. What is the purpose of everything that you do in life, in work? Get that. That's a great one. Get clear. Then next, I think if this is trying to work with brands or what you're doing with social media, next, get the why there. Why am I doing this? Why am I even using social media? Does it relate to my purpose? Then you can bring your values into it, because your values are going to drive what you do next.
And is it beneficial?
Is it beneficial?
Is it mutually beneficial? Yeah. Because if it's all beneficial towards them, or if it's more on one side than the other, if it's more for you, then great. Yeah. If you're getting more benefit out of it than they are, fantastic for you. But if it's the other way around, which usually it kind of is, in my experience, then make sure that you figure that part out, you know?
Yeah. So then we're into, I think, the is it beneficial could kind of come into the why. You know, why am I doing this? And is it beneficial? Get your values straight. Really work on your authenticity. And that will help you to curate. And then I think all the tactical stuff, like creating the content, you know, preloading all the content, all that organizational stuff, that's for you to go away and, you know, do what you want with that in your life. Whatever works structurally. But yeah, I would get all that stuff down. I think you're off to the races. Like, I think you'll be amazed what you'll bring in. Yeah, bring in. You'll attract it.
Awesome.
And compound it. And do great things for the world. We're changing the world.
Yeah, one podcast at a time.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only thing I'm qualified for now is the fucking bed.
A little sleep.
What time is it now? It's 9:45.
Well, we've had a long day.
We have had a long day. So I think that was really valuable. I think it's been a really valuable podcast. I hope that you guys enjoyed the podcast. We always appreciate if you could leave us a little rating, a little review. If you're watching it on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, all of the stuff that the YouTube people say. And let us know what you think in the comments below. If you got anything to add, if you can ask us any questions, got any burning topics that you'd love our opinions on, we'd love to get into that kind of stuff too. So it's just really exciting to see where the whole next chapter is going to go for everybody. We're in the curation stages. We're slimming things down, I think, at Area Academy. And it's going to be really interesting to see where we go with it next. But thanks again for listening. Got any parting words, Lee?
Yeah, thanks everybody. Like Owen said, I think the feedback is we love the feedback. It's just great. Like, if we can kind of meet your guys' needs. I mean, obviously we're always going to talk about stuff we want to talk about, but if we can intertwine some of the stuff that the people want to hear, brilliant. So yeah, the comments are always invited. Thanks for listening. This is episode 22.2, impromptu.
Yeah,
sweet,
awesome.
It's
Good
done.
night, good luck, and good night.